Hey, what is up, everyone? It's Rich. All right, welcome to Super Fun Sunday. This is going to be a Patreon exclusive. I had mentioned that I probably wouldn't be doing a Super Fun Sunday this week, but I was like, I love my Patreon. I love all the people that are there, and I don't want to disappoint them. So I'm just doing this for you all. I picked this book. This is an interesting choice for me. I'll explain in a second, but first I have to say, what's today? It's Super Fun Sunday. When's it going to be? It's going to be super fun. All right, so got that out of the way. I'm going to regret in like 20 years that I ever did that. I did a very small comic book store signing one day. I think a friend of mine who does self-publishing was had a book coming out, and so he was like, do you want to come and like just hang out and sign? So I went, and one of the he's the president or vice president of IDW came by, and I know him, Greg, and he bought John Romita Jr. Splash off me, and it was a pretty expensive piece. It was a nice team shot of the Suicide Squad. I mean, a real solid piece of original art, and he was really complimentary towards me. He loved the piece. He thought he was he kept. I had mentioned the story before, I think we're doing a Super Fun Sunday, but he was like, man, he's like, this is better than Da-Da-Da's inks on John Romita Jr. And he kept upping the ante, as he stood there. It was it went from third tier inkers to second tier inkers to he's like, this could be the best that he's ever looked, and it's very appreciative of it. But anyway, so part of the deal, these are beautiful horns on these animals. See what I tell you about perspective and horns. Wow, this is actually going to be really interesting to see this, because I'll talk about this more in a sec. But so he paid me in cash, and then he said, and I'll throw in 5 artist edition books. So I've actually picked 4 of my 5, but I made really unusual choices, because I wouldn't call it free money, because it was cash that I didn't get, you know what I mean, for the piece. So I did pay for these books, just, he maybe gave me a little bit more wiggle room. So I picked 2 Will Eisner books, The Spirit, which I would normally, not pick. I picked this, and the Bernie Wrightson Artifact Edition were the first choices that I made. And I'm, I like Walter Simonson's stuff. I think he's a very talented artist, but this wouldn't be a book that I would normally go out and get. But I went down to IDW and I flipped through all the different books, and this was really good. But it's really simple, and it's a little crude at times, and I felt like that there was something in this work that I didn't have in my work that I thought I could learn from. It's not, I can't compare it to the Michael Turner work, but it's kind of the same idea. It's like some artists just do things differently than you, but there's a real value in that, that you may see something that you would do totally different, but they give you the idea to try it in your own work, and then you approach it differently. But this book, okay, so when I got it and I flipped through it, I liked it the first time that I saw it. I don't even know if I've actually looked at the whole book. I'm pretty notorious for, I look at these books real slowly, so there's a good chance that the last 2/3 I may not have ever even checked out. But my initial reaction was, oh, man, I don't know. This might not have been a good one for me. It's like I said, sometimes there's not a lot of care in the work. But looking at it right now today, after drawing those four pages, I've shown you 3, but I have a 4th one actually penciled that I'm going to be starting to ink today. This stuff I think has a lot of value for me, so I think it was actually a good choice. Because these guys, they boil stuff down. Okay, look at his eyes, and then look at the direction of his eyelids. Meaning here, I'll get a pointer out so you can see this. Okay. This shape right here is so important, because if you have a generic way that you draw eyes, when you're looking at, this is actually technically a slight down shot because his nostrils aren't showing. It's a straight on shot, but it's a little tilted down. So you see more of the bottom teeth, less of the top. And even the shape of the eyelids. Things like that are really important. And you may see it in a real simplified drawing. Oh, this isn't really simple. It's just, it's very matter of fact. It's very spontaneously, probably drawn and inked. But you can learn a lot from that because you're seeing the cues and the lighting. You see how it's like lit here, goes into shadow because this is starting to go back. Again, we're talking form. These aren't. I may have been referring to them as lines, but this is a three-dimensional shape that curves and goes back into space. As it goes back into space, it's getting shaded. Back into space, it's getting shaded. Back into space, it's getting shaded. Okay, you need to be able to understand that and use it. Again, this is a plane that is a rectangle. I think that's what it's called. Like that goes here, but it's in perspective. It's actually 3-point perspective. It's got a vanishing point here, it's got a vanishing point here, and it's going down here, and the horizon line is actually kind of that way in a weird way. But anyway, yeah, you really want to understand your form. So sometimes with very stylized or more simplified art, you'll spot it more likely. So the first person that told me about this work was actually Aaron Weisenfeld. He was a real big fan of it when he was working on like Team 7 and stuff like that. And I, as I was learning more about different comic art, the one place that you're going to start looking is backwards. And so, I would hit up these really talented artists that I respected and kind of go, what are you into? Like, what do you like? And he was like, oh, I love Walter Simonson's Thor. So that was good enough for me. If Aaron liked it, there was something of value in it. There's 2 of these books. This is the Beta Ray Bill one, and there's another one that I think focuses on earlier in the story. But Simonson he's stylized, but he's got all the kind of comic book notes that you'd want to see. I don't know too much about who his influences are. Maybe see a little bit of Neil Adams in this stuff. Maybe Dave Cockrum, John Buscema, John Romita Sr. I don't know. You tell me. Does anyone have any ideas where Walter Simonson kind of originates from? And I would assume that Arthur Adams was actually a fan of this. So, you've got those lines coming out of Simonson's work, meaning his work had an impact on people. This is, I don't know what year this stuff was done, but my guess would be even artists like Jim Lee, Arthur Adams, John Romita Jr., probably a lot of those guys, maybe Larry Stroman, were all influenced by this to some extent or enjoyed it. Wolf's Portaccio might be another one. But yeah, this is important stuff to learn because, again, I would never draw anything like this, but you know what? If I drew it in my style and had just this amount of detail down, it might look really good. It might look real good. So it's important to learn from it. And that's why I picked this book. It was, if I was going to study something today, I needed to start directing my ship a little bit less complex at times. But what's funny is I've given advice in the past where essentially the concept is you have to draw everything to know what to leave out. And I've said that to other people before, that like it's probably in your better interest to overdraw early on and then start to eliminate things or fine-tune things that way than to underdraw. That's a generic. I mean, obviously each person would be different, but yeah, if you're not trying stuff that's a little out of your reach, you won't be pushing yourself to learn. This is really cool. I'm digging this. There's a lot of, like, I like the idea that I pick something that I didn't have a familiarity with, and I got it solely as, like, new ingredients to try to cook with. So hopefully that inspires you to maybe try things like that too. Obviously, this is an expensive book to just sort of like gamble on, but I look at these books as an investment in my own work, and the reality is, this is like a $100 book. If I do one page of original art better because of this book, and I sell that original for $150, I'm up. I got my value out of this book, and you need to look at things like that. Little things that are going to move you forward are worth investing in. It's a cool shot of the arm there. And again, even just the cues that he uses for anatomy, let's count how many shapes that he uses to show this arm right here. So you've got this muscle, so it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 6 little cues, really no fingers. I mean, but this is stuff that you want to pay attention to, because if you ever need to suggest a small arm, you want to have that encoded. The back of the leg, he's got this little kind of horseshoe shape. Shows just that muscle, a little bit of that, and a little bit of that, and you're good to go. If you know all your anatomy, you may be confused on where to eliminate things. You know, you might want to put all these other shapes. I tend to do that where it's like, I don't have all that down completely. I can do it better if I just draw anatomy, but that's not what we're doing here when we draw an arm. It's like you're suggesting the elbow, and then again, he's got the wrapping muscles, and then this. And this is actually pretty accurately done. But again, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6-ish. 1, 2, 3. So when you're doing it, you can kind of keep those numbers in your mind too, where it's like, all right, I've got 6 strokes to suggest this arm. This is good advice, honestly. Really good advice. YouTube is going to be missing out on this. But they're going to sniff around on my Patreon, and they're going to see that I did a Super Fun Sunday. And some of them are going to pull the trigger, I guarantee it. Because, I've been doing, there's so much good information on my YouTube channel, and I still to this day will have people ask me things that I've gone over a bazillion times on the YouTube channel, and we're porting it over to Patreon. Man, that is a nice looking horse right there. Really, really cool. And again, I guarantee he had horse reference out for these pieces, but not necessarily for that exact drawing. So, you know what I mean? It's like you learn how to do it, and then you do it. This is a really great panel. This is a nice book. Really, really cool. So the light is coming from here, and that's why he's got this is lit, and these back planes are not. And this is really, really good. Really good. This is nice. See the front planes and a little bit of bounce lighting. So what happens with light is when it comes in like this, it lights everything in front, but there's all this reflection that goes on that gives it the bounce light. So little high planes on the other stuff will start to show it. So he's suggesting that it's very Tothian. Not saying that he got it from Toth, but you know, like that's pretty realistic foundation used in a very kind of stylish way. Got to know all this stuff. What's the thing? People will say, what do I need to learn to draw comics? You need to know everything. But that's why I'm here. I'm going to help you learn everything. That's nice. That was really cool. And again, let's count anatomy real quick. 1, 2, 3. That's it. And he's got the wrapping here and that, but to get to the elbow, he shows that, and a little bit of that elbow. 1, 2, 3, 4. If you've never seen it, the Finch Nomon DVDs are pretty decent. He goes over male anatomy. I think he's got a video on like drawing hands and feet, and then one on females. I think he has 3. They're all decent. I haven't really used them as learning tools, but I've watched them a few times. I had a subscription to Nomon at one point, and I saved a bunch of the videos. So, you know, his work is very founded in Bridgman, which mine is too, which comes from Silvestri, which comes from Frazetta, which comes from Bridgman. So that's kind of the chain of knowledge. It's good stuff, man. So hopefully it's been fun and kind of interesting seeing me working on that heavy metal story. I feel like it's exciting sharing this stuff from you. I love reading the comments. It really inspires me and stuff like that. So don't hesitate to say hi on those when I upload them, because it's cool. It's cool to read your thoughts and stuff like that. And if you see things that could be better, or you know, like if I'm drifting in spots, let me know, because I'm not infallible at this point. I mean, you figure this is my first short story, so I feel like I'm doing good for a first published story. So I'm happy about that. But you know, there's a ton of room to grow. I don't know anyone who did one short story and ended up where they were going to be 2 years down the road after they'd drawn, you know, 6 or 7 short stories, 5 or 6 full comics. You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of room for improvement with my stuff, and there's just room for growth. I mean, there's no two ways about it. I haven't had to draw tons of people yet. I mean, in like normal, you know, normal faces and stuff like that, which is fortuitous in a way, but not really. I mean, that's kind of the main thing that I always worked on anyway. But I mean, it's definitely when you start drawing people's faces and things like that, because we have such a connection with faces and all that. It's way easier to be more critical and go, oh, the face doesn't look pretty or it doesn't look tough or whatever it is. But you know, of the lion's share of everything that I'd ever done was to try to get good at that. So, if anything, the thing that really helps me with this story, and I know people are saying like, oh man, like all your tech is really good and stuff like that. I'm telling you, it's just all knowing perspective and those basic forms. I mean, I really, when I realized how important that was, I focused on it, and it's like, you know, I can draw the shit out of any kind of gear, and I have a very limited library of tech. You know what I mean? Like, I can kind of fake a laptop, and I can fake little items on the desk, and you know, some wires and things like that. But wait until I really start learning some more specific machinery parts and stuff like that. I mean, I'll really be able to do some like cool tech. But you know, I don't want my work to be tech heavy, but I always want it to have that attention. This is a beautiful sky he did here. Al Williamson, Frazetta comes to mind. It's really good. This is excellent stuff. It's aged well just in the 6 to 10 months that I've probably owned this book. I'm feeling it. I like this too, you know, just completely open, white, real powerful. You'll see me drop the detail out of my stuff on my work, because what happens is I really lay this stuff out as they could easily be like full value pages, meaning that there's like levels of gray on everything. The problem is to render it all, it just would look junky. To put line work everywhere, it would be more easy to do in wash and would probably look better. But then, in my opinion, wash doesn't color well, so it's like I'm better off leaving it open. So that'll be one of the things that I slowly refine, is where to put my value, meaning rendering and line work, and then where not to. So it's kind of interesting. I'm already seeing kind of a theme with my stuff, is where it's like the backgrounds are more detailed and the characters are more cartoony, which actually is kind of cool. I mean, I definitely wouldn't be opposed to that, because I'd never ever wanted my characters to look photorealistic. I don't like that look for comic books. So yeah, for me, I would much rather have something look quote unquote cartoony than realistic. But you know, the backgrounds have a level of believability, and then you start kind of getting a very cool sort of like manga quality, which would be like, you know, Atomo or whoever, but you know, it's like really kick-ass environments, and then really cool looking characters, but just, you know, different but blend well. That's really cool character. Simple anatomy, he's just showing enough. Knees are keys. This is really important to take in. So you got the thigh, but this shape right here, that double, it's like muscle, kneecap comes out, it drops. You've got the other thing, it attaches here, so he's got all this, calf, and then on your ankle, inside is the high side, so like the slant goes like this most times. Depends on the angle of the perspective, but yeah. Alright, so I'm going to wrap this up at 20 minutes because I have a lot to do today, but I did want to get you guys a video, so here, let's do this. We'll skip ahead a little bit. Oh man, that's nice. This is a really good book. Now I'm curious, like it's like I'm seeing it through my eyes, but like how does this look to you? And please feel free, like these private videos, you're more than welcome to comment on them on YouTube. You know, people seem to be shy about hitting the like button or commenting, but they're still real videos. I mean, they're monetized for me, and I definitely come by and check them out, at least when they're new, to see if people have commented, and we can get a conversation going either on Patreon or on YouTube, if you have questions or comments about the work. So, all right, I'm going to leave it there, and you all have a great day and a super fun Sunday, and I'm sure I'll be around some point today on Patreon. Maybe post like a small teaser of a panel or something. I got to keep my teasers a little tighter now, though, as we move forward, because I don't want to get popped for this and get in trouble. Okay. All right. You have a good one. That's nice. Okay. Bye. Boom, 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 boom.